Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to do a DIY Dollar Tree farmhouse autumn decor piece, and we're going to teach you how to make buffalo check easily as well as paper roses. And we're going to start with this autumn greeting sign. I'm going to use one of these metal ones. I chose to use Thankful because I'm going to make it more for Thanksgiving. And I'm going to use some paint, so we can either use spray paint or white acrylic paint. To make the buffalo check, you need, to make the black and white buffalo check, you need black and white paint for sure that you can mix in to make gray. And then I'm going to use a couple of these Jenga pieces, but if you have scrap pieces of wood around, you can use that. That's fine. And then we're going to use some fun foam. This pack is from the Dollar Tree. So far, everything except for the white paint is from the Dollar Tree. We're not going to need the Mod Podge, but just a big foam roller. Not roller, paintbrush. Those are from the Dollar Tree, but I bought them a long time ago. And we're going to use some of the chalk paint that we made from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to use this black marker and some craft paper if you want to make the paper roses. I just want to show you the different options you can do, and I'm going to show you the different techniques. We're also going to use this glue gun as well as our scissor, but we're not going to need the X-Acto knife today, just the scissor. And of course, paintbrushes. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is to make a square stamp. Now, I said that this is going to be a really easy buffalo check. It is, because we're going to make two different stamps using just Dollar Tree products. So the first one, I'm just taking the scrap left over from my the placemat that I used yesterday. You can also use a piece of cutting mat, but this is a step you don't have to do. You can skip this step entirely. I just thought that I wanted my foam stamp to have a little bit more rigidity, and then I ended up putting it on the blocks. But I'm just showing you, I left the footage in to show you how I'm cutting a square. I've used my ruler, and the small stamp, I'm going to make 1-inch squares. So if you want, whatever size you want your buffalo check pattern to be. So originally I thought I wanted it to be small, and then I started to do it on the project, and then I realized that it was a little too small for me. So then I went ahead and I used the big one. But I'm going to show you the two different rubber stamp, not rubber stamps, Jerry, the two different stamp methods, making methods. So I've cut the square out, and I've done used the edge of the ruler to keep it perpendicular to the edge of the line, and I just made a 1-inch square. And then I've cut it a few times. I'm going to cut it once out of the plastic, 2 layers, and then I'm going to glue them together, and then I'm going to cut it out of the green fun foam. It doesn't make a difference what color fun foam you use. I just use green because it shows up on the camera. Okay. And then this package of fun foam, like I said, was from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to end up doing 3 layers of fun foam. And we're just going to use hot glue. Now, the tip that I'm going to give you is you put the hot glue down on the fun foam, and then I want you to take the side of your glue gun and spread it out so you don't have a lot of bumps. You want it to be a smooth layer. Normally I would tell you to squeeze the 2 layers together and slide them back and forth to spread the glue, but because we're already cutting this, then it just makes it a little bit more difficult. Plus the fun foam is kind of thin, and it could burn through your fingers. It's just a little hot is what I mean. So I'm sorry it's going super fast. There's a lot I want to show you in this video, but you guys get the idea of, make 3 layers of the squares, and we're gluing them to the Jenga blocks. I glued 2 Jenga blocks together just to give it some stability for even stamping pressure. Now, if you have the stamp block, the clear stamp block, and you want to sacrifice one, you can go ahead and use that. Anything you can to like give some stability behind your stamp so you can apply even pressure. All right, and I'm just showing you here how I do it. So there's a couple of ways. You could dip into the paint, but it does add a little bit too much product on it. So I've taken a paintbrush and I painted on the paint onto the stamp, and that's the best way to apply the stamp. And I'm showing you here that if you add too much paint to it, it does create like this weird squishy effect. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create one using a foam brush. So whether or not you've ever used these Jenga games, you can tell just by if you've ever played Jenga or if it's sitting in the box that 3 wide are as long as one is long. So it basically creates a square. So if you take 3 blocks, it will be automatically be a square. So what I've done is I've glued 3 of them together. So now here's what the important part is when you glue these Jenga blocks together is they're not 100% uniform. So you want to glue the first 2 together and push them down onto the table so that you have them underneath side will be totally flush. And when you glue the third one on, do the same thing. So you have one flush, completely flush side. And now you're going to do the same thing with the glue. You're going to make the glue nice and flat, and we're going to glue it right to the foam. And when we pull the handle out, it leaves a little space, but you could put glue in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that utility knife that we got at the Dollar Tree, and we're going to use it to cut the foam the same size as the blocks. All right, and that's how you do it. So now that we've created those 2 fun square stamps, you can imagine where we're going with this, right? Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this project and we're going to actually get to making the buffalo check on here. So I really loved this hanging, this pumpkin hanging. I love the fact that it had real burlap on the back. It wasn't a drawing of burlap. This is in 2 layers, and as you can see, I'm able to slip paint under the initial pumpkin so that I'm protecting all of the burlap. And then I've painted it with the chalk paint. Now, full disclosure, I am totally out of this. I totally ran out. I was like adding water to it, adding baking soda to it, anything to make it stretch out. And I just ended up using the rest of it. And because I had made a mistake, I had to go and spray paint it. So that's why I said you can do either. Okay, so I painted it 1 coat in one direction. I let it dry. And then when I went back in the second coat, I put in the other direction to simulate fabric, like the weave of fabric. Okay. So what I meant to say was I'm totally out of white craft paint in my entire house. So I have to get to the store. But I couldn't even make more chalk paint. That's where I was headed with it. So I ended up adding spray paint to it. And I'm sorry this is so bright that you can't even tell where the pumpkin ends and the paper begins. But what I did was I took the ruler and I lined it up with the bottom of the pumpkin and I rolled it a few times. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just to put a straight line down the middle. And that's the straight line that I'm going to use as an initial guide for making my buffalo check even. I'm going to take the same gray paint that we used in the pumpkin that we made the other day, and just going to show you how little the squares are with the small stamp. That's what I just showed you there. And then I just wiped it away. And now I decided we're going to do the big squares. I think it's much better. Okay, so you're going to take, I've dipped it in the gray. I've wiped it on with the brush. And you can see if I don't wipe it properly, I'm making all the mistakes so you guys don't have to. How's that? And you can go back over it if you want. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. What makes it more homemade and farmhouse, right? And did you see there, I turned it in 180 degrees so that I could get, or 90 degrees even, so that I can fill in wherever I left off. And I do notice that this looks like it's a little bit out of an angle. I wonder if the camera moved and I didn't realize it. But you're just going to go ahead and make a gray and white checkerboard, just like we did with the pumpkin the other day. And because this stamp is so easy, and I love the way it comes out because it's like so like homemade feeling. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, because this stamp, you can see the edges of where you need to line up and match the corners to the corner, to the previous corner. You're just going to make a gray and white checkerboard. And then when that's all done, you're going to go ahead and dip it in the black, and then you're going to do the black on 2 rows is what I think I'm going to end up doing. And then you just fill it in between, skip a row, make a row white, and then do a row black. And again, the rows are going left to right, right? And so right there, I just showed you that I went on the very edge just to show you that it is not perfect. And I think one of the things, if you saw the thumbnail, that makes it so wonderful is that it's not perfect. But I'm trying to make it as square as possible, just with a little touch-ups, like wherever I missed a corner. Like you see that one gray square has got like no corners, so I'm just going to touch that up. So now we're going to remove all the paper, and I see when I remove the paper that somehow black paint got on there. And the only thing I could think of is that it actually was on the piece of paper when I pulled it out and I stretched across. But this black craft paint from the Dollar Tree is washable, so I just went ahead and I took a wet paper towel and cleaned it up a little bit. So now the next thing I want to do is I've taken some of the craft paper from the Dollar Tree, and technically this isn't craft paper. What this is, and Jimmy hates that I save garbage like this, but this is the inside of the roll of wrapping paper from the Dollar Tree. It's just a little bit thicker than the craft paper, but you can use the craft paper just fine. And what I would prefer to do is use spray adhesive on the back of this metal words to spray adhesive it entirely to this craft paper, but I'm not. I'm just going to do a couple of dots of hot glue here and there until I'm done cutting it out. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting it out like and I'm eyeballing this. This is not an exact measurement, but I've just cut it out basically a quarter to a half an inch away from the words. I'm just going around in the general area, in the general shape of the word. And oh yeah, this is me still gluing down stuff. So it's a lot easier to turn it upside down, put it on the metal words, to peel back the craft paper and put some glue down, and then fold it back, the craft paper back over, so you don't bend the letters. That's all I'm working on. So now I'm taking my scissor and I'm cutting around all of the letters. Again, not exactly up to the letters. I wanted to make it look like it was like a piece of craft board that the words were on, and then it was glued onto the layer. So I like the multi-layer look. So I have a burlap layer, a buffalo check layer, I have craft paper layer, and then the metal words. So I like the way that the layers look. Okay? And just continuing around. I'm trying to be very mindful because these words, if you were able to get these, congratulations. I know a lot of people have had trouble trying to find them, but they are very, very thin and they do bend very, very easily. So we're trying to be super careful. So now I'm just going to peel back some of the layers and add some more glue and remove old glue because of the metal, the glue dries really, really super quickly. So you really have to work fast. I almost wish I had an iron because I would just put a hot iron on this paper and swish all that glue out. So now I never mentioned taking the leaves off and the hanger, but go ahead and take the leaves off and the hanger. If you didn't do it before, go ahead and do it now. And we're going to paint the leaves. I wanted to paint one of the leaves gray, and I wanted to paint the other one with the natural colored chalk paint. That kind of reminds me of burlap. It's what I tried to get as close to burlap as I could. And we're just going to paint both sides quickly, set them off to dry, and then we're going to work on the paper flowers. So this gray paint, like I said, was the same that it was like it's a shade darker than the paint that we used for the buffalo check. That's what I was trying to say. I had it mixed first the other day, and then this is what I decided to use for the leaf because I just wanted it to be a little bit different. And then the other craft paper, the other craft paint we made, I'll link that video in the description box down below. Okay, and then we glued the leaves on as well as the word thankful. And the leaves, I kind of felt like I wanted the big one to get tucked behind the buffalo check. And then I put the natural color one on it at like a different angle. And then we're going to glue the word thankful on, and we're just going to use some hot glue. And again, it's not perfect. I don't have it measured, lined up perfect. I just laid it on there. And now we're going to work on the paper roses. So for the paper roses, I'm using that same craft paper, which you could use regular craft paper, but I'm using this piece left over from the inside of a cardboard tube. No, it's from wrapping paper from the Dollar Tree. They don't put a cardboard tube in there. They put this thick craft paper. Waste not, want not. And I'm taking my black, big, fat, fake Sharpie from the Dollar Tree, and I'm coloring the back black because there is sort of like these felt roses that are in two-tone. I really wanted to make them out of felt, but it's really hard to find white and black felt at the Dollar Tree. And I don't have any white and black felt at my house. So I've decided to use it out of craft paper. And this is just a paper rose. So what you do is you cut it or sort of like a spiral snake like we used to do when we were little. And you're going to start on the on the outside edge is going to become the inside of the rose. And I've just used a pencil and I started wrapping it around the pencil because it's paper. It's a little bit more stiff than if it was fabric. And then you're going to take the very end that ends up being like the head of the snake, and that's going to be what you're going to glue all of your layers to. And I know the lighting is terrible, but it looks so pretty in person being two-tone like this. It's sort of like, I've seen it at a lot of craft stores. They've had like two-tone flowers. And I'm going to show you one other technique, and actually, let me slow it down. And it's sort of the same technique, except the way you cut it is a little bit different because you cut it with a little wave in it. And that just gives more of a petal look to the rose. So you see, I didn't start right, but I colored the one side with the black Sharpie. And then you can cut a circle out if you want to, or you could just start cutting your snake. And I originally started cutting my snake normal, but then I started adding a wave to it. And all I did was wave my scissors back and forth, and I rocked my scissors up and down just to add a wave to it. And there will be a wave at the bottom, which you won't be able to tell, but there'll be a wave at the top, which makes it look a little bit more like petals. And the first one we did, we curled the black on the inside and left the natural on the outside. This time we're going to do the opposite. Nope, we did the opposite before. We curled the natural on the inside and the black on the outside. This time we're going to do the opposite. We're going to curl the black on the inside and the natural on the outside. And we're going to make this one a little bit smaller. So I cut a little end off. It's a smaller piece of paper. I cut a little end off, and I made it not as deep. So then I've taken the pencil and I've started at the point and I've started wrapping it around the tip of the pencil. And we do that just to help with the angle as well. And then you continue to wrap the paper around until it's all curled. And then when you get to the very end, which is like I said, the head of the snake, that's what's going to be the base of your flower. So then you're going to turn your flower over, be mindful of your finger, put a whole lot of hot glue down there, and then put the head of the snake over all of the cut edges. And then when you put it down on the paper, you can kind of unroll it a little bit. You can kind of untwist it just to get the rose shape and look that you like. And there it is. And here they have them. So like I said, this step is completely optional. You could have not even used the leaves if you don't want to, but I really just wanted to add a little bit of extra something to it. Now, I want to show you here that the hole is still there, that you can still add the jute hanger back if you want to hang up this piece of artwork, but I did not want to. Okay, for those of you who don't know, I've been searching for these stand-up pumpkin signs for like the entire season and have not been able to find one, so I figured, what the heck? Why don't you make one? So I took 4 of the natural colored Jenga blocks and I glued 2 of them end to end. And I made 2 pairs. And I'm going to glue them to the very, very bottom of this in the front and in the back. These Jenga blocks are a little wider than they are tall, so I made sure the wider part went to where the pumpkin was going to stand. And then when I flipped it over to glue them on the back, I made sure that they were completely lined up so that the pumpkin wouldn't tilt over. And there you have it. I love this. I'm sorry, I'm so in love with this stuff. I sound like a weird person, but I hope you do too. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family and anybody you know might be interested in making one of these, learning how to make foam stamps, learning how to make paper roses, or any of the techniques we showed here today. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, you take care. God bless. See you next time.